I'm John and welcome to SG Global News. From US President Trump's fierce response to tragic events in Nigeria to the youth of Delhi showing unwavering devotion despite the freezing cold, here are our top stories. In a bold radio interview on November 21st, President Donald Trump issued a stark ultimatum to Nigeria, vowing to halt a U.S. aid and deploy forces Ghana blazing if the government fails to curb jihadist and bandit attacks slaughtering Christians amid recent horrors like school abductions in Kaduna and church massacres by Boko Haram and ISIS affiliates. Backing his words with action, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth convened urgently with Nigeria's National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, pledging Pentagon support through intelligence sharing, police training, and targeted sanction to safeguard Christian communities.
In a forceful display of leadership, President Donald Trump has put Nigeria on notice. End the relentless slaughter of Christians or face decisive American action. During a November 21st radio interview, Trump expressed outrage at the Nigerian government's failure to support jihadists and armed bandits, declaring he would withhold all U.S. aid and, if necessary, send American forces in guns a-blazing to protect innocent worshippers. The president's warning followed a series of horrific attacks. Gunmen stormed a Catholic church in Kaduna state, abducting dozens. Bandits raided another school, and assailants murdered churchgoers during service. These incidents are part of a year-long campaign by Boko Haram Islamic State affiliates and criminal gangs that has claimed thousands of Christian lives. True to his word, Trump's administration moved swiftly. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth met Nigeria's National Security Advisor, pledging robust Pentagon cooperation. The State Department is expanding sanctions, police training, economic support, and intelligence sharing, measures explicitly designed to shield Nigeria's Christian communities. Trump's uncompromising stance marks a refreshing return to defending persecuted believers abroad, prioritizing American strength and moral clarity over endless nation building.
50 students have escaped from the mass kidnapping at St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State, Nigeria, but more than 253 children and 12 staff members remain in captivity. Parents rushed to the school in search of their children, with many still waiting anxiously as others returned. Bola Tinubu has ordered the recruitment of 30,000 additional police officers and scaled back VIP protection to focus on high-risk areas.
"50 students kidnapped from St. Mary's Catholic Church in Niger State escaped on Friday and Saturday and reunited with their families," Reuters reported. Yet more than 253 children and 12 staff members remain in captivity after the mass abduction of over 300 school children, described by authorities as one of Nigeria's worst school kidnappings, according to Christian Association of Nigeria Chairman Bulus Yohana. Parents rushed to the campus in western Nigeria after hearing of the escape. One father, Amos Ibrahim, said none of his 3 children were among those who returned, and many families continued searching and waiting at the school grounds. President Bola Tinubu ordered the recruitment of 30,000 additional police officers and instructed security forces to scale back non-essential VIP protection to reinforce rural and high-risk areas. Officials expressed that recent abductions had led to widespread school closures across northern states, where kidnappers have increasingly targeted education institutions for ransom. Meanwhile, in Rome, Pope Leo appealed for the immediate release of the captives, calling the situation heartbreaking, according to Vatican reporting. The appeal drew global attention as Catholic and human rights groups urged stronger international engagement. In a separate incident, Nigerian authorities stated They rescued 38 worshippers abducted during a church service in Kwara State, though 2 deaths were confirmed. Analysts warn that repeated attacks are undermining public confidence in education and daily life in northern Nigeria.
Pop Player 14 delivered a moving appeal during his Angelus address on November 23, 2025 in St. Peter's Square, pleading for the immediate and unconditional release of more than 300 students and teachers abducted from St. Mary's Catholic School in Nigeria, Niger State, and several priests seized in Cameroon's troubled northwest region. With profound sorrow, he described the wave of kidnapping that target Christian communities, insisting that schools and churches must never become battlegrounds but remain sanctuaries of peace, protection, and hope for the innocent.
Pope Leo XIV has issued a heartfelt plea for the safe release of hostages abducted in Nigeria and Cameroon, using his Angelus address in St. Peter's Square to draw global attention to the growing crisis. He expressed deep sorrow over the recent kidnappings targeting Catholic communities, including the mass abduction of more than 300 students and teachers from a Catholic school in Nigeria's Niger State. The Pope condemned the rising violence against innocent civilians, urging that churches and schools must always remain places of peace, protection, and hope. The Vatican leader also highlighted the plight of priests and faithful seized in Cameroon, calling for immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. He appealed to authorities to act swiftly and responsibly to ensure the safety of those taken and to confront the instability enabling such attacks. In his address, Pope Leo encouraged the international community to stand in solidarity with the victims through prayer and diplomatic pressure. As kidnappings and insecurity surge across parts of West and Central Africa, Pope reiterated that violence against vulnerable children and religious workers is an assault on human dignity and must be met with global resolve.
Israel has killed Hezbollah's chief of staff Haitham Ali Tabatabai in major strike on stronghold in northern Beirut. The strike underscores Israel's vow to prevent Hezbollah from rebuilding military capabilities that threaten its borders. It also sent warning to Lebanon that ceasefire obligations must be enforced to curb military power.
In a decisive act to protect its citizens, Israel carried out an airstrike in the southern suburbs of Beirut that eliminated Hezbollah's chief of staff, Haitham al-Tabatabai, long identified by Israel and international actors as a key figure in Hezbollah's re-emergence and cross-border armed build-up. The Israeli Defense Force reported that Tabatabai had been leading the terrorist organization's build-up. The strike, which killed at least 5 people and wounded dozens, targeted a densely populated Hezbollah stronghold in Harit, underlining Israel's willingness to act where terrorist threats emerge. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had publicly declared Israel would do whatever necessary to prevent Hezbollah from re-establishing its ability to threaten us. By striking at the heart of Hezbollah's command in Lebanon, Israel signals that it remains committed to enforcing the obligations, pressuring Lebanese authorities to disarm the militia and safeguarding its national security.
Pope Leo XIV has approved the beatification of 2 young Italian priests, Father Ubaldo Marchioni and Father Martino Capelli, who were killed in 1944 during the Nazi occupation of Italy.
Pope Leo will beatify 2 young Italian priests who were killed by the Nazis in 1944 in Italy during the Nazi occupation. On November the 21st, Pope Leo XIV authorized the promulgation of the decrees regarding the martyrdom in hatred of the faith of Father Ubaldo Marchioni and Father Martino Capelli. Father Ubaldo Marchioni was born in Bologna, Italy in 1918 and was ordained a priest at the age of 24. On September 29, 1944, on his way to celebrate Mass, Father Ubaldo stopped by the Church of Santa Maria Assunta in Casaglia to safeguard the Blessed Sacrament and to give refuge to a small crowd of people frightened by the arrival of German soldiers. The Nazi soldiers broke down the door and shot him in the head and severely mutilated his body. The 197 people, including women and children, were also massacred. Father Martino Capelli was born in Italy in 1912. He was ordained a priest at the age of 26. On September 29, 1944, he was captured by the Nazis while assisting those who were dying following a massacre in a nearby area. He was taken to a stable in Pioppi di Salvaro, where he cared for and heard the confessions of the other prisoners. On October 1st, 1944, he was executed and his body thrown into a river. Father Ubaldo and Father Capelli were well aware of the danger present in the places they served, yet they chose to remain with the faithful, bravely facing death despite having the chance to escape.
Thousands of Catholics gather in New Delhi to mark the feast of Christ the King with a large public Eucharistic procession led by Archbishop Anil Kuto. Despite cold weather and pollution, participants filled major city streets with prayer, hymns, and devotion. The event highlighted the unity, faith, and public witness of the Church in national capital, according to Catholic Connect.
Thousands of Catholics from the Archdiocese of Delhi participated in a large Eucharistic procession on November the 23rd, 2025 in New Delhi to mark the feast of the Christ the King. The event began at Sacred Heart Cathedral and moved across major city routes before concluding at Columbus School. According to Catholic Connect, Archbishop Anil Kuto led the gathering, joined by Auxiliary Bishop Deepak Tauro and other bishops. Participants prayed the rosary, sang hymns, and knelt for Eucharistic adoration despite winter conditions and high pollution levels. A solemn mass opened the celebration, presided over by Archbishop Kuto, with hundreds of priests concelebrating. Monsignor Vincent D'Souza delivered the homily. In his address of thanks, Archbishop Kuto reportedly said the large turnout demonstrated the community's courage and its deep love for Christ. Sources noted that young Catholics viewed the day as spiritually renewing. Organizers and parish leaders observed that the disciplined participation reflected strong commitment and reverence. The Archdiocese of Delhi, based in the national capital, continues to host major faith events that enable Catholics to publicly express their beliefs in a spirit of peace and service, while strengthening the Church's presence in civic life.
That's all for today. Until we meet again, God bless and thank you.